Alright guys, we're back for another Dokkan battle video. Let's look at the other EZA PEPPY character that came out today. This is gonna be Kawei, or Kyawei, or however we want to say it. Kind of a tough name, I guess, to just, you know, be swapped over to English or whatever. I am not sure about her. Really, I'm not. That's why, like, we went kind of like mostly additional. It's because I'm not super confident in this character. She has a lot of different abilities that she's got, right? Like, she's got all these, like, stunning and dodging and stuff. But even though the start of the 9th anniversary meta, it is true that we had debuffs available for all these big fights, right? I think Dokkan did a good job of that. With the most recent tough fights, they did move away from that. They did. So, and I mean, Kawei here, she really wants an enemy that could be heavily debuffed to look at her best. So, I'm not super sure. Real quick before we swap, or before we go into a fight. Here are Kawai's 200% teams, Jiren or Roshi. We're going to run Roshi. And then, of course, in terms of, like best linking partners and stuff like that, it's kind of just like Peppy Gal, Tournament of Power sort of characters. So, I think what we'll probably do is maybe just jump in against one of these maybe, like, immortal enemies. I think maybe the Bojack fight would be good, because Kawei gets an extra 20% dodge if there's a tournament participants category enemy. So we could fight the Bojack Dokkan event, where we could, you know, have, like, debuffs and stuff like that applied, so we could see her with all of her abilities up, you know, with her max dodge, you know, those types of things. Yeah, let's just go. But again, we need to go into a place where there's a lot of debuffs available to see her at her best. So let's do that. Alright guys, we are here. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's see what our girl Kawei is able to do. We'd be able to do a little bit better in terms of links if we had her in the middle slot, but this is not an enemy that's going to live past one attack. So we'll just have to hit, just next to Bulma for this first rotation. So let's see what that defense, that's start of turn defense 249. So yeah, just easy confirmation. We'd be running her in like slot 2 and slot 3 and stuff like that, right? I do think that depending upon the situation, Kawei could get to a pretty good defensive level. Okay, we're dodging a super attack already. Pretend that was Goku and Frieza. 8 million we're at, huh? I mean, she does have the capability of doing a lot of additionals. So, we'll see. Again, you guys saw I gave her an additional build. A lot of times, I'll do that when I mostly don't have the best confidence in a character. I brought Android 18 to kind of be her linking partner, but I mean, I don't know. I could probably... Here, let me just get rid of Zangia. Zangia, I believe, attack debuffs, but I've just got that in my brain to just immediately get rid of Zangia. I believe Zangia attack debuffs. So we just kind of like get rid of her, and then we'll just be pounding on Bojack. Oh, damn, but we can't stun in here. Specifically, it is important that we stun. Because Kawei does a guaranteed crit and a guaranteed additional super when performing a super if the enemy is stunned. Because if we fight like Zamasu and Rose, they're immortal enemies, but they're not tournament participants. I guess to be fair, the only thing the tournament participant enemy does when fighting is it allows us to have 70% dodge. Like, it doesn't actually do anything with her stats. So I guess what I'll do is I'll head to a different immortal enemy. The reason is because I want to, like, it's tough to find, like we could set up a good situation, right, against an enemy that could be deep. Oh, nice super attack dodge. Okay, against an enemy that could be like debuffed a lot, and then we could, you know, kind of get all these attacks in and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll float Bulma off. That's fine. Let's just go ahead and do this. All right, so let's see what Kawei is capable of doing right here on this turn. We have a lot of support. This is kind of like a full Peppy Gal's rotation. Sure, let's just see. In terms of links, it's not looking the best, but let's just see what we get right here. And then we're going to need to jump over to a different place where enemies are debuffed. All right, so we did seal Bojack. So with that, now Kawei gets an extra 40% defense and super effective against all types, since Bojack is sealed. All right, there's her super. We only did one right there. Yeah, because she has a high chance of an additional super. And then she gets another super if the enemy's stunned. And then she has her hidden potential system additional, which we didn't get at all, even though she has full additional. Okay, very good. Yeah, I mean, I don't... She doesn't look too crazy so far. I mean, I guess we're not really getting good luck or whatever, but... Alright, next turn... sure. Here, we'll come back for Kawaii's next turn. Alright, guys. So, I mean, next turn we'd be able to have 18, who's her best linking... Well, I guess her best good linking partner, I guess we could say. Here, I'm just gonna pop Roshi's active. So we have Roshi support, Roshi's active, we got Bulma support. Let's just see what we do right here. Hopefully Kawai actually decides, oh, I could double and triple super and stuff. Hopefully. Let's just get this turn from Kawai, and then I'll swap over to an event where we can stun the enemy. We saw Kawai against a tournament participants enemy, which means she had her 70% chance to dodge. I just like to get all the different aspects of the passive at least active during, like, the showcase here. So, Kawai, I mean, girl, you know, you can do more than one super. All right, so we're at 15 million. I mean, Roshi, of course, helps a lot. So, wha-bam, here, hold this hammer, bitch. Okay. Okay, perfect. We have a second one. We could easily do a third super as well. Okay. Bam. Nice, we do. Okay, so by the way, all these attacks, like, if we just use Goku and Frieza as an example, all of this is 0 damage unless she crit. So, like, she did all those supers, she would have did 0 damage to Goku and Frieza. If it's not a crit, right? Because you start at, like, a 15 million attack stat. So that's, I guess, kind of a bummer for some characters, is I'm just going to have this gauge in my head of looking at some characters and be like, oh, that would do 0 to Goku and Frieza. Damage thresholds are always, of course, not very fun, right, for anyone. I don't know anyone that likes a damage threshold. Very stupid. Because you know what people love? They love characters that do 1,000,000 attacks, like Physical Rose. Except Physical Rose is going to do 0, 7 out of 8 attacks on the turn or something like that, right? Or, like, everyone loves counter units. Oh, except TEQ KYAWEI Goku does 0 75% of the time against Goku and Frieza, right? That shit is ass. But, I mean, with Kawai, with all of her debuffs and stuff like that, I mean, she certainly is a great super battle road character, I guess. I mean, that's something. Here, let me come back in against a boss we could stun. Oh, right. So we're over here against our beloved, the Broly and Paragus, right, in the Super Saiyan 3 Broly Dokkan event. This is a classic. How many showcases have we done in here? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our girl Kawai. Let's just go over a lot of the basics. We saw a couple of rotations of her. In that last rotation, I mean, she looked fairly decent for sure. I mean, she is just a banner unit EZA. I mean, I've explained this before, kind of like my thoughts or my take on, like, EZA characters. Even though, like, Margarita and Kawai, like, they have, like, their own EZA event, I consider... these are, like, sub-EZA level characters, right? Like, they're not really put on the same pedestal as, like, a Dokkan Fest EZA TUR character, right? For sure, for sure. Okay, so starting with Kawai's links, we have the Innocence, Flee, Coward, Infighter, Battlefield Diva, Tournament of Power, and Shattering the Limit. Hang on. We gotta double check these. These are links that are not common here. So this is Flee. Yeah, it's just really bad, too, because it's when HP is 50% or less 2 key and 10% chance to dodge. Now, the thing is, we do know that this is just a direct plus 10% chance to dodge. So, I mean, on a character like Kawai, I mean, that could bump her up to 80% dodge. I mean, that's good if you think about it. And then there's also Coward. This is 2 key and a 5% chance to crit. Kawai only has guaranteed crit in her kit, right? And that's if the enemy is stunned. She is super effective against all types if the enemy's debuffed at all, though. It's, yeah, I don't know. I just am not a fan of her design, I'm thinking. So let's go over everything else she's got. So her super attack, she gets 50% attack and defense run turn, supreme damage to the enemy, and then she greatly lowers enemy attack and defense. That's obviously pretty good. Then our passive here, She gets 4 key, 140% attack and defense at the start of turn. Then 140% attack and defense when there's a Peppy Gal category ally on the team. Okay. Then she gets 140% attack and defense when performing a super with a 50% chance for another 40% attack and defense. Wait, no, actually, isn't it a 70% chance? Oh, is that true? That's a 50% chance right there. No, yeah, it is. That's a 70% chance. 140% attack and defense on super attack with a 70% chance for an additional 40% attack and defense. One thing that is going to be nice, since Goresh doesn't really do translations very often anymore, a lot of times I got to be very, very, very paying attention, because when they're not from Goresh, you see a mix of different translations, and parts are not correct, parts are correct. Yeah, so she gets 140% attack and defense when performing a super with a high chance, or with a 70% chance for another 40% attack and defense. I'm sorry there. Okay. Then she gets a 70% chance to stun the attacked enemy. She has a high chance on an additional super. She has a high chance to dodge. She gets the extra 20% dodge when she, extra 20% chance to dodge when there's a tournament participant category enemy. She gets 40% defense, and she's super effective into all types on super if the enemy's attack down, defensive down, or sealed. And then she gets a guaranteed crit and a guaranteed additional super if the enemy is stunned. Now, we'll be able to see most of that right here. By the way, let's see what 18 looks like. 785. Okay, one more super, and she's going to be looking really nuts. Remember that 18 does also have damage reduction, too. All right, so let's see what Kawei does. This is a very, very good rotation. I mean, honestly, this is like pretty much as good as it's going to get for Kawei. We have almost all of her links up. Bulma support, Roshi support, right? Like this is the turn for Kawei. This is where she could show us some stuff. So let's see what she gives us. Okay, there's that. She could super 4 times. So we're at 14 million right here. One of these supers is guaranteed. Then she has a high chance to super. And then she'd have the hidden potential system additional. So those are all the different supers that she could do. And she's got the debuffs and stuff like that. So you could see where it's like, like Battlefield, she's a killer, right? Like I've seen, dude, it's funny when I see global players talk about events that come way late to global compared, like events that are, I don't know, like the 9th anniversary content, like Beast and stuff like that. Gold players are like, oh my god, these fights are so piss easy. It's a joke. It's so easy. It's like, well, yeah, you guys are getting the fights 7 months late, man. Like, it's 6 months late. Like, yeah, no shit. They're not as tough. But then when an event drops at the same time, like Fusion Zamasu, or, as I've been seeing, Battlefield, I see the complaints all of a sudden. Oh my god, these are so tough. Oh, no way. When you guys get stuff at the same time, it's actually very difficult. I could not have guessed, dude. And that's where Kawei could be crazy. By the way, so as a quick, reference to Battlefield Metal Cooler, these are the types of characters like Kawei who are really good for Battlefield. These sealing, attack, debuff, stunning characters in Battlefield will be huge. And in particular, she would be super good against Metal Cooler, because the solution, right, is not, oh, just stun Metal Cooler, just seal him. It sounds good on paper, but then when Metal Cooler dodges, and then quadruple supers you, what then? And he can do that, right? Unless you're doing start of turn, like STR Jiren, the turn could start and he could passively stun Metal Cooler or something like that, right? Outside of that, I mean, he could just dodge your sealing and stunning characters. He can. It's literally a fact, right? Like that boy, I don't know about y'all, but to me, when I'm fighting him, he's UI Goku out there, dodging everything. So a character like Kawei, she could super Metal Cooler, he dodges. She supers Metal Cooler, he dodges again, but then she supers him a 3rd time, and the bastard's not dodging that one. So, that's what I've been doing with Metal Cooler, by the way, I've been fighting him with Peppy Gals. That would be my recommendation to players, is Metal Cooler is very toxic and very tough, but you could easily assemble a very good Peppy Gal roster against Metal Cooler. And I would imagine any player pretty much could assemble a good Peppy Gal team. I do not believe you know, there's a lot of different teams. Oh, use that or use that, and they say, oh, wasn't able to summon that character, didn't have coins to pick them up, you know, different things like that. But Peppy Gals, I would think that's a roster that people would be able to create, right? And, you know, again, you start getting some waves of debuffs on Metal Cooler, and then it gets a lot easier. The other thing about Battlefield, too, is it's not like you'd have to beat them in one shot, right? Like, you can, you know, slowly weaken him with teams, because you could very easily, you know, use Team Bardock squad at the start of Battlefield, the Ginyu Force squad at the start of Battlefield, shit like that, right? And then have, you know, many teams ready to go towards the end. That's kind of like my recommendation. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get this turn. I'm gonna pop this again. Then I'm gonna come back in a couple of turns. We're gonna have UI Goku's domain up, and we're gonna have Roshi's active up for Kawaii. So we're gonna do this turn, and we're gonna come back in a couple of turns and see what we get. All right, let's do this. I want to start avoiding same type orbs because I don't want to get the Dokkan attack too quickly. I don't want to get the Dokkan attack and end up killing Broly or whatever. So we'll do this rotation, then one more with UI Goku's domain, and then after that we'll probably finish up. 18 million this time, okay. Note, I did see that she did stun him, so not a crit, but now that he's stunned, now all the rest of the supers this turn should be guaranteed crits. And she gets the additional super as well. I mean, I don't know. I see, like, on this turn, like, she looks good. Like, again, like, we could look at this clip and be like, yeah, like, she, you know, she's not bad, but it's just, that's probably a hidden potential to some additional normal right there. It's just usually not that simple to just get, like, maxed out characters in, like, these fights, like, these really tough fights, right? Like, when there's no resistance from the boss, we could do whatever we want to, but when the boss is, you know, doing a ton of crazy shit, locking and stuff, it can get a lot tougher. All right, we'll come back in a couple of turns here. Alright, gamers, here's the turn of turns for Kawaii. Well, hopefully she gets her extra stats. I mean, I guess there are % chances that she gets them or doesn't get them, right? But, I mean, hey, man, just show us what you got, Kawaii. Let's go. Now, we got Bulma support up, UI Goku domain, all of our links pretty much. Well, pretty much, you know. Remember, Tech Android 18 is very good, by the way. Easily could run her in all the toughest fights. 21, that's with the first super attack. Okay, and remember, she could do up to 4 of these, so sure. Here's one more coming in, 22. Look at Broly's HP going down, man. No way. Here, Broly, hold this hammer, bitch. Okay, no, additional normal, damn it. So we didn't get very good procs right there. Okay, but there is Kawaii. I look at her kit, and I think Battlefield Metal Cooler, you will be seeing, you know, so let me not, like, you know, be too rude to her, because she will be seeing Battlefield Metal Cooler, and she will be dominating him. That is a promise I can definitely make. I will be crushing Battlefield Metal Cooler with Kawaii. All right, so there was our girl Kawaii. Oh, there's one more thing I need to pull up real quick before we take a look at her details. Hang on. All right, here we go. So this is Temptress's surprise attack, Kawaii. So the Google Translate, Little Devil's surprise attack. Do love that. Okay, so her leader skill is Peppy Gal's category key 3 and 150% to stats. Super attack is Kawaii's surprise strike. Is that just the same? Yeah, that's it. Okay. 50% attack and defense for 1 turn, supreme damage to the enemy, and then greatly lower enemy attack and defense. Her passive skill, it is just sharp weapons. Keen weapon? Okay. 4 key, 140% attack and defense at the start of turn. And she gets another 140% attack and defense if there's a Peppy Gal category ally on the team. Then she gets 140% attack and defense on super attack. And then this one right here, then I believe this is a 70% chance for the extra 40%. So, like, if we take a look at this right here, extremely high chance, that's 70%, right? Although this does say high chance to stun the attacked enemy. So that would be a 50% chance to stun. And then obviously there's a high chance of additional super, high chance to dodge, 50%. She gets an extra 20% chance to dodge if there's a tournament participants category enemy. She gets 40% defense and she becomes super effective against all types. When performing a super attack, if the enemy's in attack down, defensive down, or sealed. And then if the enemy is stunned, she does a guaranteed crit and gets an additional super. Her links are the Innocence, Flee, Coward, Infighter, Battlefield Diva, Tournament of Power, and Shattering the Limit. And that mostly covers Kawaii. Not, again, the biggest fan of her, I would say. 12Q multiplier, 140%. And again, these are what our best linking partners are looking like. I just like judging by what we've seen. Yeah, like Battlefield Metal Cooler or like a Super Battle Road type character, maybe. But the only thing about that is if we look at her categories, she has very few category teams. So very few opportunities for her to raise the floor of the category since she's barely in any teams. So she's, of course, on the Peppy Gal team. But to be fair, again, she would be within the 7 units I'm using against Metal Cooler for sure. Absolutely, I'd be bringing her. Then she's also over here on the Universal Survival Saga team, but of course, she does not even come close to making that roster. No way. Not happening. And then finally, she is on Tournament Participants, and that's another roster that's going to be super tough for her to make, right? So it's mostly just using her in fights where we can get her debuffs off. So let me know what you guys think of Kawaii. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time.